My name is Andrea. I am 68 years old, and I died for 8 minutes. What Jesus showed me changed everything I know. I need you to stay with me today. I need you to not check your phone, not whisper to the person next to you, not let your mind wander to what you are cooking for dinner tonight. Because what I am about to share with you is not a sermon. It is not a motivational talk. It is not something I read in a book or heard from a pastor. This is what I saw with my own eyes, heard with my own ears, and felt with my own hands on the other side of life. And when I came back, I was not the same woman who left. I could not be. Because once you have seen what I saw, once you have stood where I stood and heard what I heard, going back to normal is simply not an option anymore. Let me take you back to the evening of September 14th. I was at home. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special about that Tuesday, or so I thought. I had made dinner. I had spoken to my daughter on the phone. I had complained about my knees like I always do, and I had sat down in my chair to watch the news. And then something happened in my chest. Not pain exactly, more like a door closing, a sudden, quiet closing. And then nothing. I did not see a bright light right away. I want to be honest with you about that because I think a lot of people expect the bright light to be the first thing, like a switch flipping on. For me, it was not like that. The first thing I experienced was stillness. A stillness so deep and so complete that I cannot find a word in the English language that is wide enough to hold it. Every sound I had ever known, every hum of a refrigerator, every distant car, every ringing in my ears that comes with age, all of it was simply gone. And I was aware. I was more aware in that moment than I had ever been in 68 years of living. I became conscious that I was moving, not walking, not floating exactly, but moving in a direction that felt like forward and upward at the same time, the way you cannot really separate those two things. And then the light came. And when I tell you it was not like sunlight, I mean it was nothing like sunlight. Sunlight is something that lands on you from the outside. This light came from everywhere, and it also came from inside me, as though the light and I were made of the same thing. It was warm, but it did not have temperature. It was bright, but it did not hurt my eyes. And it carried something with it. It carried what I can only describe as knowledge, as though the light itself was information. And simply being inside it meant that you understood things you had never understood before. And that is when I saw him. Now I am not going to stand here and try to describe his face in a way that sounds like a painting on a church wall, because it was nothing like that. What I will tell you is that when I saw Jesus, the first thing I felt was recognition. Not like recognizing someone you met at a party, recognition like recognizing your own name. Like something in me had always known this presence and had been aching toward it my entire life, without fully understanding what the aching was for. And he looked at me with eyes that held no judgment. None. I want you to understand that. After 68 years of carrying guilt and shame and all the things I had done wrong and all the people I had failed, there was not a single trace of judgment in those eyes, only knowing. He knew everything about me, and he was not disappointed. He was not keeping score. He was simply completely present with me. He did not speak the way we speak. His words did not travel through air and enter through my ears. They arrived directly into my understanding, the way a thought arrives. Except these were not my thoughts. They were his. And the first thing he communicated to me was this: Anna, I want to show you something, not to frighten you, but because my people are suffering from a misunderstanding, and you are going back. And I want to pause here for a moment, because when he said I was going back, I will be honest with you, my first reaction was grief. I did not want to go back. Not because my life was bad. I have had a good life. I have children I love and grandchildren who make me laugh until I cannot breathe. But the peace I was standing in, the absolute, unshakable, all-encompassing peace, made every good thing I had ever felt on earth seem like a sketch compared to a masterpiece. Going back felt like being asked to return to a black and white photograph after seeing the world in full color for the first time. But he showed me I had something to carry back. And what he showed me, I have not stopped thinking about for a single day since I returned. He took me, and I use that word loosely because we did not walk anywhere. It was more that my awareness was directed. He took me to what I can only describe as a place of seeing. And in this place, I was shown prayers. Thousands upon thousands of prayers. Human prayers. Rising up like threads of light from the earth below. And most of them were beautiful. Most of them were sincere. People on their knees. People in their cars. People in hospital waiting rooms. People lying awake at 3 a.m. with tears on their faces, sending their words and their cries and their needs upward with everything they had. And I watched what happened to those prayers. Some of them rose clean and strong, uninterrupted, all the way into the presence of God. And when they arrived, there was this response, immediate and full, like a conversation between two people who are completely open to each other. Nothing blocking, nothing interfering, just connection. But others, and this is what broke my heart, others rose a little way and then stopped. Not because God was not listening, He was listening to every single one. But the prayers themselves carried something that was making them heavy, something that was keeping them from completing the journey they were meant to make. And Jesus showed me what that something was. He showed me several things, and I am going to share all of them with you because he told me clearly that this was why I was going back. The first thing he showed me was unforgiveness, and I was not prepared for how visually heavy it looked. I saw prayers rising from people who were simultaneously holding on, with both hands, to offences against them. Old wounds. Things done to them years ago, decades ago in some cases. Things that were genuinely terrible, genuine injustices, genuine betrayals. I am not dismissing any of that. But the holding on to those things, the refusal to release them, was wrapping around their prayers like chains, and the prayers could not rise freely under that weight. He said to me, "Anna, my children come to me, asking me to move on their behalf, while they are refusing to move on behalf of others. And I cannot give to a closed hand. Forgiveness is not a feeling. It is an act of opening the hand. The moment the hand opens, the prayer rises." The second thing he showed me was doubt dressed as humility, and this one surprised me more than the first. There were people praying with what looked, from the outside, like beautiful, humble prayers. Lord, if it is your will. Lord, I know I am not worthy. Lord, maybe I am asking for too much. And I understood the instinct behind those words. I have prayed those prayers myself. But he showed me that in many cases, the doubt underneath those words was not humility. It was a deeply held belief that God did not really intend to answer. That prayer was more of a ritual than a real conversation. That they were going through the motions, but they did not actually believe a response was coming. And he said to me, I am not honored by small faith dressed in polite language. I would rather have a child come to me imperfectly and boldly than come to me beautifully and without any expectation at all. Come to me like you believe I am actually here. The third thing he showed me was distraction of heart, not distraction of mind. That is different. People lose focus in prayer. That is human. That is normal. He was not speaking about that. He was speaking about people who were praying for one thing while their heart was fully committed to another. People asking for peace while secretly addicted to chaos. People asking for healing while holding on to an identity built around their sickness. People asking for open doors while being too afraid to actually walk through one. He told me that prayer is an alignment between what the mouth says and what the heart is genuinely willing to receive. And when those two things are not aligned, the prayer is not a lie exactly, but it is incomplete. He said, I see the whole person, not just the words. And sometimes the deepest prayer is not the one being spoken, it is the one the heart has not yet found the courage to form. The fourth thing he showed me was community and what he called the power of agreement that his people had largely abandoned. He showed me people praying entirely alone, in isolation, carrying enormous burdens by themselves, not because they were strong, but because they were too proud, or too ashamed, or too private to let anyone else in. And he said to me, there is a reason I built them for each other. There is a power in 2 or 3 gathered that a single voice alone does not carry. Not because my ears are weaker for one, but because something happens in the human heart when it allows itself to be witnessed and supported by another. Isolation is not strength. Isolation is a wound that has learned to call itself independence. And the fifth thing he showed me, the one he saved for last, the one that made me weep in a way I did not know was possible in that place, was simply this. There were people who had stopped praying entirely, not because they were angry at God, not because they had walked away from faith, but because they had prayed for something real and important and urgent, and it had not come in the way they expected, in the timing they expected, with the shape they expected, and they had quietly concluded that either God had not heard, or God had heard and decided they were not worth answering. And they were carrying that conclusion like a stone in their chest. And he said to me, Anna, I answered every one of those prayers, every single one. But the answer came in a language they were not expecting, and they walked past it. And some of them are still walking past it. Tell them to look again. Tell them that my silence has never once been abandonment. Tell them to look again at what came after the thing they asked for did not come. Something else came. Something I chose carefully. and it is waiting to be recognized. After he showed me all of this, there was a moment of quiet between us. See, the kind of quiet that does not need to be filled. And I looked at him, and the only thing I could think to ask was, why me? I am not a pastor. I am not a theologian. I am a 68-year-old woman with bad knees and a weakness for sweet things, and more regrets than I can count. Why are you sending me back with this? And he smiled. And that smile, I will spend the rest of whatever life I have left trying to find words for that smile. And he said, because you will tell it plainly. You will not dress it up. You will not build a ministry around it. You will just say what you saw. And that is enough. That is exactly enough. And then I came back. I came back to the paramedics and the noise and the bright, harsh, clinical lights and my daughter's voice somewhere in the background saying, "Mama, Mama, Mama." And everything was loud and everything was heavy, and my body felt like a coat I had forgotten how to wear. And I lay there staring at the ceiling, and the only thing in my mind was, I have to tell them. I have to tell them to check for unforgiveness, to replace doubt with actual expectation, to align what they say with what they are genuinely willing to receive, to stop praying alone when they do not have to, and to look again at what came after the unanswered prayer. Because it was not unanswered. The answer just came quietly, and it is still there, waiting. I am standing in front of you today, not as someone who has it all figured out. I want to be very clear about that. I still wrestle. I still have days when my prayers feel like they are hitting the ceiling. But now I know what to check. Now I know what to look at when that happens. And every time I go back through those 5 things he showed me, and I am honest with myself about which one applies, something shifts every time. I am 68 years old. I died for 8 minutes. And I came back with one message. He is listening. He has always been listening. The distance you feel is not on his side. And if you will do the work of removing what is blocking the signal, you will find that he has been answering all along. That is all I have. Thank you.